We're here today with Kelly Lundberg, who I met, a couple of years ago now, and through friends of friends, and we became very good friends. So thank you today, Kelly, for joining us.
Thanks for
on
having
our
me.
podcast. For our audience, could you tell us who is Kelly Lundberg?
Thank you both for having me here. So I'm a personal brand strategist. So what that means is I help entrepreneurs, CEOs, athletes develop their personal brand profile on and offline, and just really help their presence, their credibility, and position them as to who they actually are, and so that people know who they are. So that's what I do now. My previous career was a celebrity stylist. So I was 15 years, owned a personal styling and shopping agency, which was amazing. And I think that's what really got me into the space of personal brand, because your personal style and your public image, and it's all about how you're perceived. And your personal brand is that, and style is just kind of one of those pillars. So yeah, Dubai's been my home for the past 20 years.
And can you tell us about how you arrived in Dubai? Because that's an interesting story as well.
So I came to Dubai actually 20 years ago this week. So I was actually just looking back at some pictures for a reel I'm going to create, and it's, when you look back at the skyline and just the infrastructure, and you're like, wow, that wasn't there. And there's a picture I'll show you actually, and it's not far from where you are, but like the Palms just built, there's no buildings. It's like, it's amazing. So much has changed. But originally I was cabin crew. So I found a job advertised in the job centre in Edinburgh on a really rainy, it's like a November, and it's November morning. I was like, do you know what? I need to really find a proper job. So I went to the job centre and I got itchy feet. I'd been 4 years already previously working overseas as a holiday rep. I'd come home, I was 21. All my friends were getting so-called proper jobs. And I was like, maybe I need to get one of those. And yeah, I went to the job centre to look for a proper job. And I pressed this, they had this, it was very all kind of new and interactive. And I remember at the job centre, and I clicked on this international, let's just see what's around the world, and this job with Emirates came up, and I saw Dubai, and I was like, where is Dubai? And I remember going home and showing my mum, I remember it clear as day, I had this white piece of paper, Dubai, and it said the job hours was 60 to 80 hours a week. And I was like, it's quite a lot of hours, but I'd come from being a holiday rep, and we were working 90 hours a week. So I was like, I can do that. And I remember calling them up saying, I saw your job advert and it says 60 to 80 hours a week. And they were like, oh no, that's a month. That's 60 to 80 flying hours a month. I'm like, that sounds great. And I was like, Mum, where's Dubai? And she was like, she said it's a city in the Middle East, but it's going to become one of the next up and coming destinations. So she said, you should go and check it out. And I was like, yeah, but can you drink there? And she was like, well, go to the library and look for a travel book or something. And I remember going into Princess Street, into town, and into the big bookshop, what was it, Waterston's, and going to the travel section, and I found this Dubai book. And I was like, okay, was there bars and restaurants and stuff? And it was like, yep, you can. And I was like, okay, done, applied for the job. And that's how I arrived here.
Brilliant.
So,
And 20 years ago this week.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you will have seen many, many changes.
Yeah, not just in the infrastructure and the roads, but just in the type of people that are here, the opportunities in terms of jobs. And, I think there's one thing that's always been pretty consistent is this attitude that anything is possible. And it's something that I love and that I struggle to actually find anywhere else I travel. It's just like, you want to do it? Go for it.
Go for it.
And it's a little bit of, I think, maybe an American mentality in that way rather than British, I would say. And I know that, in comparison, I don't know how you found that, but I love that. But I do think there's nowhere else like it in the world.
I always say that I think Dubai's picked the best from every country.
Oh, that's lovely.
And they've
I've
just
never heard you
implemented
say that
it.
before. Yeah, that's
and
lovely.
Dubai's always think, they've picked that from America, or they've picked that from... So, yeah.
Oh, it's great. I mean, obviously they've had a blank sheet to create this wonderful city, and you're absolutely right, Leanne. It's, even the British traffic lights, but they drive on the American side of the road, and all of that stuff. So it's and a lot of American vehicles here as well. So yeah, we've we've only been here 2 years, as you know.
It's 2 years.
2 years,
Oh my
2 years
goodness.
now. And I mean, with the changes we've seen in that time,
Yeah.
again, not just in the infrastructure, but in the people that are here.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this yesterday. You know, and people ask us why Dubai. You know, it's the sand pit. You know, why would you move to the sand pit? It's boiling in June, July, August, September. But we were saying it's a fantastic place. We'd been coming for 18 years here on holiday and had seen it develop from afar over that time. But why? Well, it's just because of what it is, with a mix of people and
The energy.
the energy,
There's a real buzz.
and really ambitious, and everything it does, and
As
even
Kelly says, that it's a can-do place. It's just go for it. And
the people that are here are either here to make money or have money and have moved here. But there's there's just ambition about the place that certainly we felt we were struggling with when we were back in Scotland. That it was far too negative, and was having an impact on us. Environment's stronger than will. So, and we were in the US just a couple of weeks ago, and the US normally was our we loved going there. The energy, the buzz, the can-do, the risk-taking. And that's still there and evident. But the places we were at, even up in Hollywood, New York, and great, but some places tired. And I don't know if it's just because we're spoiled now being in Dubai.
Yeah, I think there is that element of tired. It's a good...
Yeah.
Especially like Hollywood. I remember going there, God, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago and being like, but this isn't what they show on TV.
Yeah.
And you're like, is this really it? And I'm like, this just doesn't catch up. But
I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, being living here and based here, we are kind of spoiled. I mean, and
even the service and everything you get,
it just seems to keep progressing.
I think but a lot of people say that I find this personally frustrating, that a lot of people say, well, you're in a bubble. And I say, well, but it's the bubble, from your perspective, it's a bubble, but it's the life that I choose to live. And every day I wake up to make that life happen for me, or else I have to leave. And I think that's something quite interesting about Dubai, is that, if you don't have money, you don't have a job, then you don't have a visa. And if you don't have a visa, you can't live in the country. Yeah. So everyone here has got a purpose, that they're working to have a life that they want to live, or to send money back home, or they've got a purpose. So it does drive very much a different perspective on how you look at things. Yeah. And I think then it becomes a choice. Like, I actively choose to live here. I could go home back to the UK if I wanted to, but I love my life here. And that might not be forever, but the weather, like, that's it's a no-brainer, really. But the ease of doing so many things, gyms on your doorstep, and what you're doing at the weekend, I'm going to the beach, like it just... And that kind of stuff doesn't have to cost money, So, it's a nice lifestyle.
And Graeme mentioned environment is stronger than will. And I think, what you're saying there, you're waking up every morning, the sun shining, the positive people around you that want to do well. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Can we take you back, Kelly? So the cabin crew, did that mean you were based here and that's why you had to move here? And then how did you transition into the celebrity stylist?
So the position was here, and I absolutely loved it as a career. And I think for anyone that's kind of early 20s, doesn't want to know what they want to do with themselves, travel the world. Because it just, the opportunities to meet, 300, 400, if not more, passengers every single week or every couple of days. It just, like I said, opens up opportunities and things that you can be doing. So I travelled all over the world, really enjoyed it. Any chance I got to have holidays, you got cheap tickets and I used them, and I just picked somewhere that was really far and maybe I'd never get to visit.
I don't know if I've told you this. I done the interview with British Airways.
Did you?
When I was 17, and I flew down, and then they came back to me. I was down to the last 5, and they came back to me and said, "We've just realised you're 17. You need to be 18 to fly."
That's
and
so
I was
disappointing.
Like,
And then
I fell into something else. So.
Oh, really? But it really is. I did a talk at school recently, one of the schools, and I said, if you're not sure, like, don't feel that you need to go to university or you need to do this, like, experience. So that in itself, and it was honestly through speaking to passengers, and as they were coming into land, obviously Scottish, love talking. And I would say, you know, where are you going in Dubai, and what are you going to do? You should go and do this, you should go and do that. You know, my previous experience was, you know, my first job was in retail, but then when I left the UK, I was in travel and tourism. So it was very much as a holiday rep, you were always trying to make sure people had a wonderful trip. But that always leaned towards, oh, I'm going shopping. What should I buy in Dubai? Where should I go and buy it? And I was like, wow, it'd be so cool if I could get paid to actually do this. And that was kind of the foundations of going, this little seed was planted. And I remember it so clearly. It was like coming into land. I could see the lights of Dubai. It was dark, but it was a morning flight. And I was like, wow, imagine if I could start my own business. And the environment of Emirates, certainly when you spoke to Flight Deck, what I was quite intrigued by is many of their wives had businesses, or they had got a business on the side. So whenever you'd go in and take their meals, you'd chat to them about things, and stuff would come up. And I was like, well, if they can do it, then why can't I? And that was the whole thing, that I was very naive, which I suppose is a good thing in business. And I was just like, if they can do it, then why can't I? And this sort of like this seed started to grow, and then I decided, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. What have I got to lose? If I leave Emirates, I can go back. I'm going to leave on good terms. I had a great record, so I could always go back. What have I got to lose by trying? So I decided, what was it, like the 9th of October was my last flight in 2005. And I had just officially started my business like 3 weeks before. I'd had a launch party and everything. And hung up my wings and went full time into entrepreneurship, which is quite interesting, because the day that I started my business officially, which I always say is the 21st of September 2005, was the day that I had my launch party. And then the next morning I kind of woke up and I was like, oh, why is my phone not rang? You know, it was just kind of like, well, I know my business has started in my head, but why doesn't anyone else know the business has started? And it was quite an eye-opener. Like, it took a little bit of momentum to get going. And again, that naivety on the whole aspect. But I think one of the biggest things or the strongest things I did, which goes back to when you look backwards, you can join all the dots. But everything that I talk about is building your personal brand. And one of the first things that I did was I sent a press release off to magazines and newspapers that I was starting my business. And again, it was a friend who was cabin crew who said, I used to work in PR. You need to write a press release. And I was like, what is a press release? And I kind of Google, imagine if ChatGPT then, but Google was what helped me kind of write that press release. And I remember just calling up, going, who's the editor of Ahlan? Who's the editor of Emirates Women? And started getting a bit of momentum. And within 6 weeks, I'd had 4 pieces of publication in magazines and newspapers, and then got my first kind of key PR piece in Ahlan. Every year they did a Ahlan Hot 100, so the top 100 people of Dubai, and they always had a section, ones to watch, and I was featured in their ones to watch. So that was kind of getting out there and the start of this spotlight. I guess that's one of my pillars I talk about in personal branding. You know, how can you get the spotlight on you? Which for a lot of people, and for myself, in some ways, business is great, but ultimately it's the press want you to have the spotlight featured on. It's not necessarily your business. So the angle that most people went for then was, she's 24, ex-cabin crew, starting a business, she's female. Like, there wasn't that many people around doing that kind of thing. So that was the angle that they were all quite interested in.
Brilliant.
And what was it you were doing at that time then? So what was the first business?
Personal shopping.
So personal shopping.
Yeah, so launched the first personal shopping and styling agency here in the Middle East.
Right.
And it was quite interesting, because I don't know if you found this in some of the businesses that you've had, or I suppose the evolution of what you're doing now, but what you start doing, it's not where you end up.
No.
Even in that first 12,
stops.
and even in that first 12 months, it evolved so much, because when I left, I was like, right, I'm going to be a personal shopper. I'm going to target all the hotels in Dubai. And when Emirates would do their stats on how many people were visiting Dubai, it was like, well, I only need 0.05% of this to have a business. And like, the numbers just seemed so easy, and it just made sense. But what I really underestimated was the missing piece was the concierge. I needed them to be on my side because they were the ones then that would say to the guests,
Yeah.
when you're in Dubai, you need to hire
Mm-hmm.
this personal shopper, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. They didn't get it.
No.
They
No.
absolutely didn't get the concept. And they were like, so someone pays you to shop?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, to carry their bags? And I'm like, no, to personally shop. You pick up the pieces for them. And I tried to explain it to them and like,
Mhm.
it didn't work. It really didn't work.
Right.
And then I got a phone call. So through all this PR, I got a phone call from this lady who said, I saw you in a magazine. Would you come to my house and help me kind of clear my closet? And I mean, now we know that is wardrobe edits, which we've done a few
Done a few.
times. And then, you know, help me pick some clothes. And she was my first ever client.
Right.
And I was like, this is a dream. Like, I've just been paid to help. You know,
Yeah.
it just came so naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, wow, she's paying me money. It was brilliant. So that was the first business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that just evolved then. So just over, it never stops. Things just keep evolving.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
An opportunity came up sort of maybe 12 months later to launch the first online wedding registrar. So that had come about through sort of personal shopping, speaking to people. Then people would come to me and go, I need outfits for weddings, or I'm planning a wedding. I need a guest registrar. And I was like, there isn't one here. So I started that whilst I had the personal shopping on the
Yeah.
side. And then 12 months later sold that, which was great because that then paid off the loan that I had to start my business.
Yeah.
So I had unconventionally, and when I started my business, personal shopping, you don't need it. It's a service rather than bricks and mortar. But in those days in Dubai, in order to start a business, you had to take a loan of what would have been, I don't know, 20, 25,000 pounds, had to sit in your bank account so that you could get your trade license, so
Yeah.
that the piece of paper said you're 100% shareholder. And then
Right.
you could take it out.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so,
Yeah.
you know, let me tick the boxes. Well, I was cabin crew. I did not have 25,000 pounds sitting around. I'd travelled the world there, and we weren't paid loads as crew, so it wasn't like, and you could save that sort of thing. So I actually had gone to the bank and asked them for a car loan, because in those days you could take a car loan and then the money would go into your bank account, but then you could spend it on whatever you wanted.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So the bank manager said, yep, we can approve this loan. And, you know, what kinds of car are you going to buy? I was like, God, I don't know. Expensive. In my head, I'm like, think expensive car. And I was like, I'm going to buy a Porsche.
Right.
And he went, you've got great taste. And I was like, if only he knew.
Yeah.
So that was why I ended up having a little bit of a loan to kind
Right.
of get me through. And of course, the naivety, I lived off it because I didn't have savings when I first started.
Yeah.
So that second business then allowed me to pay the loan
So
off.
you sold the online business?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
the wedding registrar. So
Right.
then the personal shopping business I had for 15 years, and then I sold that at 15 years.
Okay.
And then the last 4 years, coming up for 4 years, I've had Brand New Creators, which is my personal branding agency, and that's where we do the whole 360 of helping clients with their personal brand, from designing their personal brand logo, taking them through all their personal branded photography, and working with their personal branded website and a strategy to get them more visible.
And is that in person only in Dubai, Kelly, or are you able to do this online?
Yeah.
Throughout, you know, have you got clients all over the place?
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that was one of the things that I really craved after styling, was very much that piece had to be in person, or to maximize, in my opinion, the experience.
Yeah.
I think in person is the best. But now with, you know, the personal brand strategy, I think you can very much do that anywhere. My clients are based all over the world. So Africa, I've got in Madrid, I have in the UK, I have and over the Middle East. So Saudis, actually, I've got a few clients in Saudi developing their personal brand, which is quite exciting.
Okay.
So Kelly, tell us about the charity work that you get involved in.
So there's been many charities that I've worked with kind of over the years. You know, during my styling career, I supported an organisation in Dhaka, and for every client that we signed up, we supported girls with school uniforms. Now, I always felt that was something that was related to, you know, it was like their personal presentation, but the style, and it was connected. And the girl who ran that was also ex-crew. So there was a nice sort of synergy there. And then over the past, I'd say the past 12 months, been working with Sarah from the Sparkle Foundation. So Sarah set up Sparkle, and I've been working with her on our personal brand for herself and getting the voice out there in terms of just more people knowing about it, but also went to Malawi as well. So one of the things that I wanted to do was help bring a library of books. And last year I had a sort of big drive, and I said to anyone at my birthday, please don't buy me presents, just buy me books, your favourite book. And I basically took 3 suitcases to Malawi with me of books and things that they needed for the Sparkle Foundation, which was amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah.
So, what you're doing now and moving forward, what's the plans? You got personally and business wise. What does the future look like for Kelly Lundberg?
So I think, well, for sure, Dubai, I think safe to say for here, I'm super happy.
Yeah.
So that, building home here, I've got a great routine. I love, the friendship circles that I've got. I love the business opportunities. And I think there's so many more opportunities to come out of, not just Dubai, but the Middle East in general. Like, it's an exciting place to be. I'm finishing my book finally.
Okay.
So this is my second official book, third if you include the ebook. But I've been writing this on and off for the past 4 years, but it's just changed I've evolved so much in the past 4 years, and I think the world's changed so much in the past 4 years. So the message has therefore changed. So this year I finally set a goal of going, finish the book. So that should be written by the summertime, and it'll be out by the end of the year.
And what is the book?
So the working title at the moment is called De-Seed the Lemon.
Okay.
So De-Seed the Lemon, how to elevate your personal brand one pip at a time.
Okay.
So the whole concept of De-Seed the Lemon is a bit of a metaphor. So it's kind of come from my granny, and I've evolved it into something that now works for everyone, basically. So my granny always used to say, when she would have her hot water with lemon, she used to cut the pips out her hot water with lemon, and she was always like, it's nothing worse than having a pip in your hot water. Like, it's a tiny insignificant thing, but it can change the whole dimensions. And as I got older, and maybe like your vodka lime sodas, and just I hate when there's pips in it. It's really annoying, and it's a little thing that makes a big difference. So that analogy or that metaphor, I realized, was actually, you could apply it to so many things, and especially in the style world. It's often the small detail that has the big impact, and when it comes to first impressions, they can be made or broken because of one tiny thing.
Yeah.
So then De-Seed the Lemon became all about the small attention to detail. It's the small attention to detail that will help raise your standards. It's the small attention to detail that makes you stand out. And when it comes to your personal brand, it's all about standing out. How can you stand out?
Yeah.
De-Seed the Lemon. So it's something that's gone really well into the hospitality sector, because they're always looking for ways to kind of raise their standards. How can that tiny little service detail change the way that people think about how they deliver what it is they're doing? And that ultimately comes down to the person. Sure, the brand have guidelines, but it's the personal brand of the person that's delivering that level of service.
Yeah.
So, you could apply it if you're an employee, but you could apply it an entrepreneur. And it's just, how can we de-seed the lemon? So I'd love to create that into a movement. When people are just thinking, I'm already thinking of the next book after that. And it'll be all the success stories of, people who've de-seeded the lemon. Because I think, there's so much, people report so many bad things, and can't we just hear great stories? Can't we just read good stuff that will inspire us to do even more good? So so that's next. More speaking. So I've got a couple of speaking opportunities coming this year, and that's the plan.
So I think when we spoke last time, a few months ago, you were looking to get into the personal sports branding.
Yes.
How is that going?
Good. It's interesting. I was at an event. I'm part of a mastermind in the UK, and earlier this year, they'd said something quite interesting. The one of the guest speakers had said, if you're looking to not move niches, but sort of make some changes in terms of the type of clientele, it can take up to 12 months. And I thought that was quite an interesting analogy on sort of, okay, allow for 12 months, but keep speaking to people.
Yeah.
So I'm at the process of now
that
speaking to people, and the more people that know about it, then the next person's come along. So there's a couple of people in the pipelines that I'm speaking to, but nothing confirmed yet.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good.
I just want to touch on team, because team's a big thing for us. You know, we surround ourselves with a great team, and you've obviously started out on your own, but I know you don't work alone, and you've got a fantastic team around you. Can you touch on your team and tell us a bit about your team?
I think one of the things, it's been so nice. One of my team members is here now, so we actually all work remotely. And I know that you do a lot of that as well. And then every year we make a point, 2 to 3 times a year, that we all kind of come together. And I think as much as like it's quite a full-on week when you're doing everything in it, I feel so energized when that happens. It's incredible. But I think the biggest part is having the systems. So I've really made systems and processes a really big, certainly from this year, but over the last sort of 6 months, putting them in place so that we know if anything comes up, it's the communication piece, and we've got some sort of system and process to go, well, we'll speak on this day, or we've got this happening, or we can check it off against this. And that, I think, has been the biggest thing that allows me to, we're 4 years now of having an international team all over the world. And when they come together, it's like we've never been apart. I don't know, what are your tips on that front?
The same. I mean, we so our team, we want them all to meet on a Monday, don't we? Because we felt that some people working remotely feel a bit lost as well. So the ideas and the synergies that they get coming together. So we've implemented that, you know, because they're working all over the place. And if we can't make it in person, we're in the room, you know, on the Zoom, but with our teams. But we definitely agree, you know, when you come together in the one room, the plans and the decisions that you can make are fantastic.
And it just moves it all a little bit quicker.
It does. Listen, there's no doubt about it. And we're old school. That's the problem, you see. We need to be in person. We need to see your eyes. What's going on? We don't see around you. And that's for meetings, even doing podcasts. People say, well, can we do it over the internet? No, not really. No, because we need to, the whole part of it is meeting you and being in the same room and really getting to feel the energy and rather than doing it remotely. We don't like that. We've had to adapt. To that, even in our business. But there is no doubt about it for us, even when we're having our gatherings with our troops, if you like, and our team. The dynamics are far greater in person. And when you get the meeting, so I totally understand that.
We've just spent the last 2.5 weeks, you know, travelling all over the world to catch up with team members and new potential, you know, partners and things. So, and it's great. We don't think twice about the travel or, you know, just to get there and meet people in person.
And it's just like, can you do this, or what about this? Oh, that's a great idea. Although I do think my colleague might differ on the quicker piece, because I'll go, how do you do this? Because I sometimes feel I'm a little bit of a dinosaur on the computer, and she's like 20 years younger than me. And, you know, in 2 minutes, or not even that, the other day, I was trying to work out this thing on a document. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, how do I do this? And I'd been playing around with it for 15 minutes. And I was like, Irish, how do I do that? 5 seconds. You just press this and this. And I was like, we should work together more often.
I've got a team member like that, and he's sitting in the corner.
How do you do this? How do you do this? But no, it's great. It's really good.
And you're right as well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Even on our businesses, the things get done a lot quicker when we are there in person and just driving it, you know, and just and bringing to our, I'm not saying urgency, but just say, let's get things done.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
It really makes it. It really makes it. But you that just doesn't come across online. You can get by, but there's no doubt about it. Regular sort of gatherings, you know, in person are, I think, critical. They're certainly critical for our business. Because we, you know, and left too long, you know, is tricky to try and get that momentum. And I think that's really what we've seen. You know, it starts off great, it's a motivation, everybody's motivated, then it just kind of slows down. So, right, you need to identify that, right, okay, we need to go, or we need to, there needs to be a bit of a booster, you know, going on here. So.
We do a lot of strategy days as well, and we have, you know, all the post-it notes stuck to the wall, and the energy that comes out of the days is fantastic, because you're getting the whole team involved in the plans for the company, and you know, they feel really involved in part of it, which is great.
We've themed our quarters recently, and we found that to be really beneficial in a couple of ways. focus on what it is that we're actually working on, so we can actually say no to some things because we know that this is the one thing that we're focused on. But it's just created the ability for us to come together on a common goal as well. And that we've just planned our next for this quarter, what we're working on now, and it just generated a bit more of excitement that we're all working together on one thing, because that can be hard when, even though you're all working for the same business, when you're not on a common goal and you're doing different things within the business, that can be quite hard. Whereas I think this is working really well for us, so we'll keep doing it for now.
So back to the personal branding, Kelly. Why do you think it's important for a business owner to have a personal brand?
Well, I think it's important to have a personal brand as a business owner, because a lot of business owners don't think they have one, because they think their business is the brand, and that's the most important thing. And as long as they push that, then it doesn't matter. But the reality is people buy from people. People do deals with people that they know or they like or they trust. And I think, whether if you don't take one of those, and then how do you develop that in more depth? So I think that is understanding, first of all, everyone has a personal brand. And what you might not be doing is actively working on your personal brand and doing aspects that can actually support your credibility or increase your visibility or just add depth to what it is that you're doing. So I'd said earlier about it's only when you can join the dots afterwards. But I've been building my personal brand alongside my very first business, and it came kind of organically in the way that I was nearly forced into it when Harvey Nichols actually asked me to come and do a presentation in store after their big fashion show. And they had said to me, can you send over all your collaterals, like your logo and your pictures and your bio, so we can promote you in store? So I did all of that. And then the marketing team got back in touch with me saying, I'm really sorry, we can't use that. And I was like, thinking, is it not very high-end enough, or what's wrong with it? And they were like, oh no, you've sent it, but it's all your business logo and your business bio. And I was like, well, yeah, because I am a business. And they're like, I'm afraid we can't be seen to be doing business with another business. We can only do business with a person.
Okay.
And I was like, that's interesting. But that's not the first time that had happened. Journalists, they don't really want to write about your business. Journalists want to write about the story. What's the story behind it? What's the piece that is going to be the angle that's going to inspire someone or interest someone? And again, it's not about the business, it's about the person. And the more I started to realize this, the same with social media. I mean, we've all got business profiles. Do they get that much engagement?
Not really.
No, it's really hard to get engagement because it's not personal. But the personal side is everyone wants to know what's Leanne doing at the weekend? What's Graeme up to? Where are they travelling to next? That's the connection that people want to do. So how do you put that out into the public domain in a space that, one, you're comfortable with? Because there's different levels of sharing. Some people overshare, some people don't. But how do you put it out in a way that can be of value? Because everything's value driven. How can you share something that's of interest, inspiring, but someone will be able to take a real takeaway from that? That's the power of building your personal brand, because guaranteed most people that you speak to want to help someone. So if you wanted to help someone, then how can you share that through the content or the speaking opportunities or the presentations or the media and the spotlight that you actually do? So it's really just, I look at it like a long-term savings account. A personal brand is like a long-term savings account, in the sense that if you just chip away and just keep doing a little bit that's actively towards your personal brand, compound effect. And that compound effect will have big returns. So that's why I say, it's something that, because people say business brand or personal brand, which should I work on? I'm like, both. There's space for both, because that one's just going to raise this one up. And, whenever I do a speaking gig, I'll always ask, when I'm talking about this, it's quite relevant, how did you find out about me? Very rarely through my business page or through Brand New Creators website. It's, I saw you on Instagram, or I saw you tagged into something else, or this, then I followed, I was interested. Now I've been to your website, I've watched this, and that then starts to develop it. And Stephen Bartlett, he did a whole video. He's very into, he's got a great personal brand, but he's also very encouraging in the space of, you need to have a personal brand. And he did this video on LinkedIn And he basically said like 70% of new business leads came from, 70% of the revenue generated into his bank account came from a personal brand initiative.
Right.
And it was through sort of speaking opportunities. Someone who'd either seen him speak online, speak on stage, or so it's doing something personal branded. So if you can have 70% more leads that results in 70% more income in your bank, why would you not do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very passionate about it.
So apart from coming to one of your workshops,
Yes.
Can you give some tips for people developing their personal brand?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, they've got to understand that they are a personal brand, and then get really clear on, so what is my personal brand? So what are the things that you can share? And I always say, what is obvious to you is amazing to others. So never underestimate the value that you know, or the things that you know, or that you can share with people to help them in your business, or tips, or whatever it is. So think about kinds of content, if we're talking about digitally, can you share, but what is the message? And that whole piece of, your personal brand is every interaction that you have with someone. How do you make someone feel? Do you make someone feel great? Do you think about them? Are you thoughtful? That is all part and parcel of your brand. How you present yourself when it comes to your personal style. Are you making a great first impression? Or do you not really care? And that actually comes across. So thinking about, I always say that there's 7 pillars. So first of all, you need your strategy to go, what are we working towards? Where do we want to go with our personal brand? Then think about, the style piece in terms of how are we communicating that? Not just in what you're wearing, but also how do you communicate on email? Do you engage with your followers? Like, that's all your communication piece. Then you want to look at your stationery. So when I say stationery, all your touch points, all your collateral that has your branded name on it. How are people receiving it? Do they like it? Do you get an email signature? Are you still emailing from a Gmail account?
Yeah.
Or, do you have a website? Can people find you? Are you making a journalist's life easy? Do you have high resolution pictures? Something that you can do so that you can get more coverage, for example. And then you want to look at environments where you can speak. And speaking is a great place to leverage your personal brand, because you're speaking one-to-many rather than one-to-one. And it just automatically puts you as someone who is more credible. So seeking out those kind of things will really help to move your pillars on. What can I write about that gets me an article in a newspaper or online? Because all of that then will contribute to getting a Wikipedia page, or getting a Wikipedia mention. I think it's a Wikipedia page, and then that is, your credibility. That means you come up on Google, and they say you are who Google says you are.
Yeah.
And I always equate it to, if you were going on a date with someone and you knew their name, you'd probably Google them before you went on the date. And whenever I ask this in presentations and keynotes, and I say, so you Google someone, you've got their name, nothing comes up. What do you think? I don't know, what would you think?
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
I've had all sorts. People say, what would you think?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
They're hiding something.
hiding
They're hiding something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So your personal, your personal brand in that piece, when you Google, it's no different in business. If you're wanting someone to invest a lot of money in you, whether that's you being a coach, or whether that's you buying or selling a property, if there's nothing out there about you, people can think, well, that's a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Or who are they? So it's all about developing that
Yeah.
trust piece in it that you want to aim towards. So
I'm just laughing because I don't think they had Google when we started dating.
Yeah.
I can Google you.
You never went out with me.
There was a really cool line in the second White Lotus, in the second season of White Lotus, and one of the cast was like, I've checked you out on Instagram, or something like, she said, you're not even on Instagram. I can't find you anywhere. And she's like, I don't even know if you're a real person. And that's what people think,
I've used it for other things, like if you're recruiting or, tenants and things. I've checked out on Facebook, to see
it's
what
a
kind of-
natural thing that everybody does now, isn't
Yeah,
it?
recruiters, I think it's even as high as sort of 80-90% of recruiters
Yeah.
will check and see what your personal brand representation is online.
Yeah.
And the same with sports stars. So that's one of the things that I've seen in terms of helping them is, you're wanting to get picked up by a club, or you want to get picked up by a sponsor, or if you do something that's against maybe what the sponsor that you want to aim towards, then you're not going to get the deal. So it really does affect the bottom line as well. Because people go, working on your personal brand, like how is that actually going to affect your income? Like 100% it's going to affect what you do. The jobs you get, the deals you do. So, you know, the more you develop that, the more it's going to have a better result.
Love your energy, Kelly. And it's been today's been absolutely fantastic.
Thanks for having me on.
We could
So
chat all
good to
day.
speak to
Yeah,
you.
great to see you again, and hopefully we'll catch up soon, and we'll go out for something to eat, and
A glass of
rosé.
rosé.
Absolutely. It's always got to have a glass of rosé.
Good. Thanks very much. Been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.